Hello there, this is Ben Mazza with Sagenverse.com to show you the interface and how to operate the Sagenverse platform. After I've created my account and logged in, I can go to my main Rooms tab by clicking on the Rooms button here or clicking on the logo at the top left-hand corner. When you first get your account, you will have no rooms that you've got in your account, so you can create your first room by pressing this Create New Room button here or Create New Room button here. So I'll go ahead and create a new room. At this stage of our beta, there is a few categories of room styles that you can choose from, but only two currently have templates you can choose from. That is empty rooms and empty spaces. You can have a look at each one of these by clicking on their icon and pressing next, which will give you a list of the various rooms and a video preview that you can have a look at. So once you find a room style that you like, you can press its thumbnail and press next, and then it will ask you to give the room a name. And I'll just go ahead and fill in this. Clicking Take Me There will take you to the 3D editing view. The 3D editing view puts you inside the 3D space where you can navigate using your mouse or scratch pad by clicking and dragging to turn your head or turn the camera up and down, left and right. You can also click on the floor by following this circle on the ground and clicking it, which will walk you to that location in the room. If you're somebody that's used to playing computer games, you can use your W, A, S, and D keys to also walk through the space and use that in conjunction with the click to look. You can also use your Q key and E key to turn your head using the keyboard. So that is the basics of movement. Let's have a look at our main interface here on the left-hand bar. At the top here is a button to exit the 3D view and go back to our dashboard. The next button is our Files Management tab, which will give you access to your organization drive, which is storage that goes across all your rooms, and then folders that you can create within this room to organize your files, and a simple upload button here that will just bring files right into the main level of your room drive, which is what we're looking at here. So as a habit, I tend to like to create folders, so I'll go ahead and click New Room Folder, and I'll call this folder Images. And then I can click the View Folder button to go into the Images folder and start uploading files. So I've clicked the Upload button here, which is asking me to investigate my local drive. So I've got some photographs here I can bring in, and those will get staged and added to my upload queue. And then when I am satisfied, I can click these Upload 4 files, and you'll see the progress for each of those complete. Once that's done, those 4 files have now been added to my files directory, and those thumbnails will take just a moment to process. You can refresh by clicking the Files tab again and then opening up the folder to see the progress. Now with some files uploaded, I can grab and bring one of them into the 3D space. And to do that, you can use your mouse to click and drag the file from the interface into the room. And then as you drag it around the room, you'll notice it will want to try to snap itself to the different surfaces in 3D space. So once you find a spot you'd like it, you can release, and then it will bring up a properties menu here that will let you adjust the rotation, the scale, and I'll go ahead and set these back to normal. And then there are other options that you can tinker with, such as duplication, which will make a copy. And then you can go into the advanced controls down here and fine-tune the 3D placement of the file in space. So you can float these in the room, you can snap them to the wall, you can do all kinds of different transformations on the file. The next tab is properties related to the file. And if you plan to have the file be really large in the scene, you may want to turn on a high resolution version of the model or of the file so that it doesn't become blurry. By default, we choose kind of a medium-sized resolution for the photos and images that are in display. But if you need a higher resolution, you can toggle that switch on, and it will call up a larger density version of the image. The self-luminous tab will kind of turn on the effect of the image being lit from behind, almost like a computer screen. And then these two are in relation to when you publish your room and you let people view your content. This would tell the system whether or not you would allow them to download a copy of that file or not. And this inspectable toggle, which is on by default, means that when somebody visits the room, whether they click on the image and it would open into an image viewer is determined by that inspectable being on or off. So that is images. You may also wish to bring in web URLs, and to do that you can visit any website. I'll go ahead and visit Wikipedia, and since I've got some green peppers, I'll maybe grab the Wikipedia article on green peppers or bell pepper. So I'm going to grab the address here from Wikipedia and put it to my clipboard by using Control or Command C. I'm going to switch back over to my Sagenverse scene, and I'm going to go ahead and click into the room, and using my keyboard paste Control V, it will put a copy of that web address in as a temporary file as it goes and processes a screenshot of the website. And then if I was to go back to my Files tab, it would show that that website I just pasted is now here in my Files tab available for me. And websites behave very similar to images in the types of transformations you can apply them, and the same with the files. But downloadable doesn't have any use, because if you click on the website, it simply just takes you to the website. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about files and all the different types of content you can bring into Sagenverse. So we've already seen images. We also do support video files, specifically MP4s work the best, but almost any video file will be accessible and downloadable. Just MP4s will play back in our native players. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a one of these little room vignettes here, and I'll go ahead and upload the video file. And that video file is now available for me to put into the space. And while it is processing the thumbnails, it will put an indicator up like so. Okay. You can also work with 3D files. And the best way to show you that is to open up one of my favorite 3D foundries, which is Sketchfab. And in Sketchfab, you can find free open source, or I shouldn't say open source, but Creative Commons enabled 3D files. If you go to Explore and go to the downloadable section here, there is a variety of different models that creative model creators have put up for free download. And you can do a search for pretty much anything. So actually, since we're talking about bell peppers, maybe I'll grab a bell pepper, see if there's a free bell pepper here. This one looks pretty good. So Sagenverse works with the GLB model type. That's actually a fairly large bell pepper in terms of density, so I don't know if that's going to work as well as I would like. Let me find this one. Maybe is a little bit more efficient. Yes. So something to note is if you're working with 3D files, to note the triangle counts being a reasonable size. Sagenverse will work with models in the neighborhood of 50 to 60,000 triangles, no problem. We've had instances of success of it working up to 400,000 triangles, but ultimately it does impact performance. So we recommend you find models that are game ready or video game ready, as opposed to models designed for film or television. So I like this bell pepper here. I'm going to click to download the 3D model, and I'm going to look for the GLB converted format. And since it's a smaller image, I'm not going to use the high resolution textures, although it's up to you. We work with textures up to 2K. You may see some texture sizes here say 4K or 8K. We recommend you stick to the maximum of 2K. So I'll go ahead and just grab the 1K because I don't plan this pepper to be very large in my scene. So I'll click download, and then that GLB model is now on my local file system. And I'll switch back over to my Sagenverse account, browse to my downloads folder, and grab that bell pepper model. So there is the bell pepper model now in my files library. I'll go ahead and use the same drag and drop, which will now bring that bell pepper into the scene. And you can work with this like any object. It will be scalable, rotatable, and then completely 3D placeable. These have a few more options than, say, videos or web pages under the Files tab, because the nature of 3D objects, there is a couple of other considerations. So the high quality toggle still works the same as the image version, where it would just sample the higher resolution texture for the 3D model and make it look better, but it also would cost more and impact performance. So if I don't need to turn it on, I would recommend not turning it on. Next is this player collision, which is off by default, which will allow me to walk through this pepper model, and it doesn't block me as a viewer. If I was to turn that on, now when I walk into the bell pepper, it will prevent me from passing through it. And that's handy for 3D models that you may need to use as walls or blockers or as rooms themselves. Self-luminous is a way to make a model brighter where it is not affected by the room lighting. So as you can see, this bell pepper is a little dimmer than we saw in the source viewer, because this room has some brown tones and it doesn't have as much bright light. But if I was to turn that self-luminous on, this bell pepper is going to be very, very bright, as if it is ignoring lighting and just using its own colors for its look. So I quite like the way that it looks self-luminous here, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that turned on, scale this down a little bit. And then if you are somebody who knows 3D content, we do give you the ability to isolate each texture map that describes the 3D model and compress or clamp the maximum texture size needed. So if the model is proving to be too expensive or making the room run slowly, you can go into these settings and choose a lower version of the texture. So 256 pixels being our mobile standard is the least expensive, and our 4096 or 4K textures being the most expensive. So I would strongly suggest you don't use the 4K unless you must. And then after you've made those selections to apply them, you can click this rebuild model with the new settings. If you get into trouble, you can always click the restore defaults, and it will set the model back as if you had just uploaded it to the room. Okay. So that about covers files. Now let's talk a little bit about furniture. And Sagenverse offers hundreds of free 3D models that we've prepared for use in our application. In some cases, they offer unique ways to hold and house and present your image files and your videos and your web pages, and even holding your 3D models if you wanted to present those. And there is a number of categories here that you can browse and look through. So I'll start with some picture frames. So if I was to go to the frame section here, we have some picture frames available, or painting frames, and I'll grab a couple of frames and bring them into the room like so. So we can have a look at these. And placing objects is the same controls as placing files. When you click to select them, you can move them around and they will attempt to attach themselves to any surface you see in the room. They can also be rotated, scaled, etc. And there's a few more tabs that certain furnishings will offer, and we'll cover those in just a sec. But the main controls here will allow you to do individuals, but also if you hold down Shift, you can do a multi-select and select two items to bring them around space wherever you need, and that's quite handy. You can also create groups. So if you see I have multiple things selected here, I can click this group button and now they are a group, and I can ungroup them just the same to go back to selecting the individual pieces. So I'll go ahead and move our frames to this wall while we work. And I'll bring in another piece of furniture here. So let's bring in a couch. Got a couple couches here. So bring that one in, maybe this tufted couch. Great. So we can start to see our gallery taking shape, and we've got these frames in our couches. But we'd like to be able to add some artwork to our frames, and there's a couple ways we can do this. I'll start with the drag and drop method, which can happen by opening up our Files tab, opening up our Images folder that we made earlier, and I can drag in this cake into the frame. So as I drag it into the frame, it will snap and position itself in the frame and fill it up to the best of its ability. So this 1x1 frame fills the cake that way. This 3x2 frame will crop the cake to fit the frame as best it can. So now that we've got our image in the frame, I can show you another way you can bring images into your frames. And that is to go over to this File tab and click on this image slot, which is presenting the name currently of the image inside of it. If you open that up and you see the file name here and this orange button, you can click upon it and it will bring up a file picker that will ask you what you'd like to replace the file with. So if I say I would like to select my green peppers, it will replace the cake file with my green peppers file. And now might be a good time to talk about some undo features. Say you make a mistake and you don't want to keep it, or you would like to go back to the way it was. Undo in Sagenverse is done by holding down Shift and pressing Z, which will take the last action you made and roll it back. And you can do this a number of times. I believe the undo history goes well beyond 20 or 30 steps, so it will be very flexible with allowing you to take your work backwards. If you go too far, you can use Shift Y to redo the action, so you can go forwards and backwards in your undo and redo history. Some more controls here under the File Management tab on our frame will allow us to adjust how this image is presented in the frame. You can use the zoom slider here to provide some extra mat board in the frame and show more of the image, or you can crop the image more by zooming the image up. And then you can use the vertical and horizontal offset sliders to move the picture within that frame as it's cropped. You can also use these rotate buttons to rotate the image left and right if you need to reformat based on how you have the frame oriented. So in this case, if I wanted to rotate this cake frame on 90 degrees, I would double click in there and type in 90. I can adjust the position of the cake picture by going in here and rotating it counterclockwise to the left and filling up the entire frame with our cake picture. There is also the same image arguments and properties here that we saw on just the loose files in the room. So if we again need to use high resolution, turn on our self-luminous, disable downloading or enable downloading, or making it something that we want interactable or viewable when this is published, these controls are here as well. So that is the basics of file holders and furnishings that you can add your files to. Let's move on to notes. Notes are essentially editable text fields or text labels that you can put into your space to do things like signs or placards. So let's start with a label, and when we drag our label into the room, it creates a box with some sample text, and then it gives us the same editable menu here that we've seen with other objects. If I click on the text tab, I'll be able to go into the sample text and type in a new label. And if I want to change the aspect ratio from a square, I can go down to this background size, and I can change the size of this by dragging the slider in and out to make wide or tall labels. So in this case, I'm going to do a wide label. I'm going to go ahead and increase the X and decrease the Y, so my bounding box fits that label nicely. I can also use this slider to scale up and down the font size within this label. I can change the alignment, so right now it's defaulting to center alignment, but maybe I would prefer to have it left aligned. For now, I think I like the center, so I'll go ahead and leave it in the center. And then down here, there'll be some fonts you can choose from. By default, it is this Albert Sans font, but we have a stronger font with all capitals, and we have kind of a elegant scripting font. There will be more fonts coming over the next few releases, so be sure to check back for additional choices there. In addition to fonts, you can also select your text inside the text edit here and apply some quick formatting styles. So like we can add bold, we can turn this italicized, and we can even add an underline if we wish. And then we have a reset button here to clear out all of those arguments or properties if we need to. Now to change the color and look of things, I'm going to start talking a little bit about the style tag or style tab. Most everything that can be colorized or is colorizable will offer this style tab, and with it a color picker. And up here would be all the different selectable color areas that you have available. Since I have text selected, it's telling me right now I'm able to change the text color. But if I was to select my frame and go to the style, not only do I have the frame itself, the wood, but it also lets me color the mat board. So if I was to scale this picture of green peppers down to reveal the mat board, I would be able to change the color of the mat board just the same. So to change colors, you can use the interactive color picker just by clicking in or clicking and dragging to move to the color of your choice. Or if you're the type of person who likes to do more precision-based coloring, we offer support for RGB or red, green, blue, and hex colors using hex color codes. Once you have a color you are happy with, leaving it at that color keeps the label or object at that color. Not only can labels and frames be colored, but so can couches. And if you have multiple objects and you want to select multiple objects and they can both be colored, you can select multiple objects that share a similar name for their colors, or if you want to manage those colors independently, all of those will get bundled into this color picker here. So we can change the green of this couch to be that green, and if I want to save that hex color, I can double click that hex color and add it to my clipboard, and then change the leather of this couch to be the same green. So now both couches are of the same color. Pretty handy. So that is basic notes here. We have a couple different types. We have a document that will be designed for background colors and smaller text. So if you were to go get a paragraph of text, let's go to Wikipedia again and grab some text. So if I was to grab this paragraph of text and copy that to my clipboard, I could paste all of that text into here, and actually what I should do is I should copy just the text. It's trying to copy the formatting. So copy that text and I'll just bounce it out of a sticky note. Our text, and you'll need to go into the font size here to create the font size that's appropriate for your label, and then probably clean up the formatting a bit more to make this start to feel like a placard. We can scale that down, we can move this over here, and then it starts to take on the appearance of a placard. So maybe I would like to make that background, oops, make that ink color dark and the background blue. There we go. Okay. So let's have a look at sharing and publishing. Once you have a room that you're happy with, obviously this room is still very much a work in progress, but if you were ready to share the room, we can go down to the share section and it will ask us to publish our Sagen. By default, this Sagen is not published, but it tells you what your most recent save was and if you would like to publish this version or not. So I can go ahead and publish this, which will create also a public link. So either way, you could turn that switch on or press this button, and then it will create a shareable link that you can copy and give to anybody who would then be able to access your space and explore it on their own. If you would like to put it into a website as an embed, you can hold down or click this iframe copy button and get all the iframe or embedding information. So once a room is published, it keeps that version of the room intact down here. And if you ever needed to remove publishing or turn the room's access off, you could hit the unpublish button, which would just make this share link no longer work, but it also makes sure that no one can visit your space. As you continue to work on your space, though, and this is one of the great features of our new platform, is that version of the room that you've prepared and know how it looks is continuously being supplied with that share link that you've given everybody. So while that share link is live, you can be free to go in here and add more changes to your room, and it wouldn't be distracting to your anyone else visiting your space. And this is nice to allow you to have versions of your room available. So as you continue to expand your exhibits or collections, you know that you've got a version of the space that is polished and ready for guests available as that room remains published. So say you've made a few more edits. I'll just add a couple more couches for the sake of this demo. And I want to add this update as my new update. I can go back to share and I can click this publish button one more time, and it will ask me if I'd like to publish this version, and then you'll see that it will take and make our currently published version identical to our most recent save. So that is now the version of the room available, and I can continue to do this as many times as I like. Coming soon but not operational, at least in the build I'm showing you here, is restore points. And what restore points will allow you to do is open up all of your previously published versions of the room and decide which version of the room you would like to make available as the version you share with others. Okay, let's go take a look at tours. So tours are a great tool to use to build a walkthrough of your gallery. And I'll go ahead and create a new tour. We'll call it test tour. You can name it whatever you'd like. And if you need to rename your tour, you can go up to the top here and click the pencil button to rename your tour. Otherwise, now we're in tour editing mode, which is asking us to add our first tour stop. So say we want to frame up this area of our room. I can go ahead and add a tour stop here, which will create a new tour stop entry here in our list. And then I can go to click the edit pencil and call this stop 1. Collection of images and a couch. But you can write whatever you'd like. And there's a few extra options here that will affect how a tour is viewed by a guest. First, if you don't need a title or a description, you can turn these off by clicking this off button here, which will result in a playback of your tour having no title or description visible when you play back the tour. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment here. You can also edit the camera's point of view. So if we click on that, now we can fine tune our camera position. Say we like this camera view better. I can click the update camera perspective and it will save that camera perspective change. If I would like to add audio to my tour stop, I can choose an audio clip from my uploaded files directory, but I currently don't have any audio clips uploaded. But if I click here, I can go to my upload new file, and I think I might have some audio clips from a former project. There we go. Upload that. And then I can select that audio clip file for my tour stop. As another option, if you want the audio clip to play at the tour stop, and then upon the ending of that audio clip, auto advance the tour to the next stop, you can toggle this switch on. Coming soon will be some transitional audio, which will be an audio clip that plays between stops, which is handy for use of like a segue or changing the topic. So once I've got all my choices here, I'll go ahead and remove that audio clip, and I can hit update stop, and my stop has been appropriately updated. So now I can go to my next stop, and maybe we want to go to this section, add another tour stop, and you can do it very quickly. Go to stop 3, go here, and then I can go into this hallway, say maybe I added more to my exhibit later, add a tour stop there. So once all of your tour is intact, you can click Finish Editing Tour. And then you can preview your tour by pressing View. And it will take you on your tour and let you step through your different tour stops, like so. And this is the title and description I was mentioning. So if I wanted to turn off some of these tour stops, I can go back and edit and say where it says new tour stop, if I don't want to say anything, I can turn those off and then update the stop, go here, turn that off, update the stop, so on and so forth. So now when I go view my tour this time, stop 1 will have a title and a description, but the second stop does not. We've turned that off. And the third stop also has its turned off, as well as the fourth. And then when the tour is complete, I can go back to exit the tour and go back to my tours menu. Now, one of the really powerful things is every room can have as many tours as you like. So right now I've got just the one tour. In this case, it would be maybe providing an overview of my entire gallery, but you could do separate tours for sub areas of your gallery. And then what that allows for is when someone visits the room, they'll be able to select from your tours list as to what tour they would like to go on. So bear that in mind if you're building your spaces, is that you can use a number of tours to tell larger or smaller stories. And that covers tours. Let's talk a little bit about the next item here, which is the room properties. And this is where we can get into setting some areas of the room up to be customized. And most notably, you'd probably want to work with the room colors. So if we're looking at this color, for example, we'd be editing the floor marble here. And then the atrium wood also is the outer ring there. And then we go into this room And we can see this particular Sagen has a number of editable colors. So each one of these spaces can be uniquely colored to create a very specific look that you would like. You can also play with the lighting by changing from, say, the ring lights here to the sconces, which are these lights here, and each one of these can be turned up or turned down to your tastes. Some people like very bright lights, some people like very dim lights. And then there is a whole series of effects that you can apply, or filters. So each one of these can be played with to get the look you're looking for. There is some very strong effects in here. So please experiment, have some fun, enjoy, maybe, doing something that's very bloomy. But whatever you choose is up to you. If you get into trouble, we have this restore defaults button here that will kind of roll everything back to where it was before. Finally, on this room properties, you can set where your guests start in your space. So you can position your camera wherever you'd like. So maybe we want to start actually in this room facing outward like this. If this is where you'd like to start, you can place your camera and then press this set start location button. There's no feedback yet, but that's coming in an update. But when you press that button, it does in fact set the start location. Okay, that about covers the basics of setting up a room. One last thing to note is in this version of the application, if you go to leave early, it may warn you that you haven't saved the room. You can do that by pressing Shift and S, and you'll see this little saving pop-up show up. Very important so that you don't lose your work. I highly recommend that you press that Shift S every once in a while to keep your work from being lost. But if you were to accidentally press this exit button, this warning is up regardless of whether you've saved or not. So it's just there as a reminder to prepare you from forgetting to do that. So that is okay. And our new room is now in our library. And we can go back anytime we'd like and make updates to our room. Add new things, create updates, make some changes, what have you. So let's talk a little bit about cameras and advanced camera controls. By default, you'll be in what we're calling the first person mode. So the first person mode is, like any first person navigatable game, you are as if you were walking in real life through the space. If you hold down Shift and you press F, you'll see here the text at the bottom corner has switched to a mode we call God mode. And now our camera is on its own. So as we look around and we can use the W, A, S, and D keys, we can fly our camera around anywhere we'd like. In fact, we can even go through the level and the walls and the boundaries and get more of a developer's style access to our 3D space. And this is handy for us to be able to put decorations here on the high of the walls, be able to go put things on our ceilings or roofs. It's very, very handy to be able to go to these different places. So you can use that to go place your camera anywhere. To get back to your regular view, you can press Shift F again, which will restore us back to our first person mode. Another camera view we offer is the overhead view, where if you press Shift O, it'll take us into a floor plan view where we can use the right mouse drag to pan our view, left mouse click and drag to rotate our view, and we can use our middle wheel to zoom in to the areas or zoom out to the areas. And this is a handy view, say, for allowing us to move furniture quickly between different sections of the space, or getting a bird's eye view of our build in general. To get out of this view, press Shift O again. Okay, that about does it for the basics. I'll be putting together a few more tutorial tips and tricks to talk about advanced building techniques that will be shared in the future. If you have any questions, I highly recommend you visit us on our Discord server. The development team is very responsive there and willing to help. You can also reach out to me directly through our support email, which is support@sagenverse.com. And with that, I will leave you to explore and play on your own, and I hope you have a great time using our software. It's been a pleasure walking you through it, and I will talk to you soon. This has been Ben with Sagenverse. Thanks.